Okay. Hi. Hi everyone and welcome to today's Q Q&A section, I guess you could call. So right now I am a little bit out of my environment. I'm not home right now. I had a very hectic weekend and long story short, I am currently in the process of moving in with my boyfriend. He is moving into my apartment. So it was a chaotic weekend of trying to figure out the moving situation and setting up a new internet. And they were supposed to come yesterday to set up our internet, and they weren't able to come, and I had no internet. And so thankfully, I have amazing friends. And so I'm at a friend's house right now in a small office doing a live podcast recording. So, what you're seeing me do right now is a live podcast. And if you're watching me live, then you can leave some questions in the chat box. And for anyone who's listening to this on audio, then you are probably just going to be hearing a replay of the podcast on Live Unrestricted. So, the purpose of today's podcast and today's session with all of you is to answer some common questions that I get about Food Freedom Academy, which is my online program that is currently open and taking on applications for our May 2023 cohort. So, we open this signature group coaching program. It's a container for women who want to stop yo-yo dieting, heal their relationship with food, and learn how to leave their food and body drama behind once and for all, eat without guilt, without shame, without constant fear of losing control, and for women who feel like they just can't trust themselves around food. And so this is a container that is dedicated to that very specific person who is ready to do the work needed to unravel their history with yo-yo dieting and all the different mindsets and behaviors that they've picked up over time through dieting that have now caused maybe some unhealthy eating patterns like binge eating, emotional eating, chronic overeating, food guilt, food obsession. And we open this container 2 to 3 times a year. And so we opened it last time in January. We had an absolutely phenomenal group of women in it. And I was so excited to open it up again right before the summer starts so that anyone who is not willing to let even just one more summer be wasted on obsessing over food and not being able to go to barbecues and just be present with loved ones and enjoy your time there and have the food that you want without constantly being afraid that you're going to lose control and binging or thinking of what other people are thinking or saying about you. This is like for those people who want to go into summer 2023 with ease, with peace, with calm, and with that peace of mind to just live and enjoy life. And we have been flooded with applications this week, which has been very, very exciting. And the application process involves an application and then booking a call with me. And so you get to talk with me, and the goal of this call and really the main purpose of it is for you and I both to gather information so that I can know on your end if you would be a right fit for the program, because we are very specific about who we let in. It's a small group, and we want to make sure that we can offer you the highest level of support, of coaching, of guidance. And so we keep the group small, and it's also like it's all about community in there. And so we want to make sure that we have the right community and people who are willing to do the work, people who are wanting to be coached and guided and who want that structure. And so on my end, it's really to make sure that I'm getting the right people in there. And then on your end, if you are not sure if this is a right program for you, although I know that a lot of the people who have sent in their application are familiar with me, with my work, what it's all about. But people who just want that extra step in talking to the person who's going to be with you for the 12 weeks of live coaching, because you're going to be hopping on calls with me twice a week if you're able to make it to both calls. I offer twice a week coaching on these live calls, and I'm going to be the one walking you through it. And also, I'm the one who created my process, my framework. And so making sure that you feel like your gut, your intuition tells you this is exactly what I need right now in this moment in time in my life. So I'm just going to answer some common questions that people might have. And if you're listening to this right now or watching this and you might be having those same questions and you're like, this all sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds like exactly what I need to heal my relationship with food. I'm absolutely done with dieting, but I still have some questions. I'm still not sure if this is right for me. Then I'm going to answer some of those questions today. So if right now you are tired of obsessing over food and your body and you've learned about intuitive eating, you want to learn how to become an intuitive eater and move away from the identity of a chronic dieter and towards the identity of someone who just feels normal around food, but you have some fear, you have some self-doubt, you have like some resistance holding you back from taking that next step, then let's address some of those questions. This episode is going to be for you. So one of the biggest questions that I get is like, what do you do? Like, what do you do with your clients? And what is the process that you take them through? And so for anyone who I encounter in just day-to-day life and I tell them about my business and the group coaching that I run, the best way to describe what I do is I help chronic dieters who feel anxious, stressed, overwhelmed, frustrated around food and their bodies all the time, who have constant negative self-talk, body shame, self-sabotage, who have an all or nothing mentality when it comes to food. And they've picked all of that up, of course, through dieting. I help them deconstruct and heal from all of those different behaviors and mindsets that they've picked up over time. That's the first step, right? So it's really important. And I have a 3-phase process that I work my clients through. And the first step is that unfreezing step. It's learning how to unfreeze, how to change the status quo, how to change your paradigm around food, because you've picked up like this way of thinking. When you're dieting, you have one way of thinking: good and bad food, guilty, shame, junk, clean, and that's your reality. And that's what's really important that I need to stress, is that I understand that this is your reality because I've been there. Like, I could not possibly think of myself as being quote unquote healthy and still being able to enjoy dessert every day. Or I couldn't possibly think of myself as being quote unquote healthy and not working out every single day. And so I had this view of the world. I had this view of health. I had this view of the way that I thought I should be living my life. And it wasn't until I went to Italy and I saw a completely different way of life, a way of life that is not about counting calories or going on a diet. Like, they literally never talk about people's bodies. They never make comments about how other people eat. They never make comments about calories or having to make up for it the next day. Like, it was a completely different experience that I had never been exposed to that. And so it was having this paradigm shift of, oh, wow, these people, these populations, like think of Italians, French, Japanese, like these populations that are some of the healthiest populations in the world, also are some of the least obsessed with what they're eating and how they look. If you look at Western culture, Americans, Canadians, and even we're going a little bit more east, but like in parts of Europe as well, like the UK, there's so much talk about nutrition, and a new term that I had learned recently is like healthism, this obsession with nutrition and nutrition science, which can be absolutely helpful. But it's been taken to a whole new level, to a level that now creates so much stress and guilt and overwhelm. And this thing that was created for good, right? Good intentions, trying to help people make better choices, actually backfired, because when we look at chronic dieters, they probably, and you might be able to relate to this, can probably write a whole book on nutrition, can write a whole book on dieting. And we think that if we gather up more information about calories and carbs and exercise, and if we just have more and more knowledge about health and about fitness and about food, then we're more likely to make quote unquote better decisions. And actually the opposite happens. And I've been there, because we gather up with every new diet, we gather up a set of rules about how we should or shouldn't eat, about the number of calories in all of these different foods. Like I've said this before, I can still list off the calorie content of every food in the MyFitnessPal database. And we think that if we just know all this information, it will help us. But all it does is it disconnects us from our ability to listen to our bodies. It's something that I call in the academy our internal food police. When we sit down and we have a plate in front of us, instead of sitting down, being present with our food, acknowledging how it tastes, how it makes us feel, how our bodies respond to certain foods, and really being present and connected to the mind-body experience here, what happens is that food police, that internal food police, takes over. And it's no longer about how it feels in your body. It's about the fear of the calories or the sugar or the carb content, the fear of how this certain food is going to affect the scale in the morning, and then the way that you feel about yourself and your body image. And so it's really hard to really reconnect to your body and to eat from a place that feels natural, that feels intuitive, that feels easy, when you're not actually paying attention to your body, which is your best number one guide on how you should be eating. And instead you're relying on external things, external apps, experts, other people who are telling you how to eat. And that's what's really important about the work that I do, is I'm giving you your autonomy and your independence and your power back when it comes to eating. Because every time that you do a diet, every time you're told by someone else how you should be eating, that is an assault to your autonomy, to your power. It's basically telling your body, you cannot be trusted. Someone else outside of you knows best. And so, of course, the eating experience starts to feel confusing, starts to feel overwhelming. And what I am so passionate about doing is giving you your power back, so that no longer will you ever have to rely on someone else to tell you how to eat. Because I want to work myself out of a job. I don't want you to have to rely on me to know how to eat. I don't want you to have to rely on anyone, because the best guide, the only person, the only thing that knows best for your specific body is your body. And so I help you learn how to become an expert on your own body. You were born with this ability. You were born knowing how to eat. Think of, if you have kids, or you can reflect to your own experience when you were young, you ate when you were hungry, right? You cried and you whined, and until you got milk from your mom, or as you got older, you got food from your parents. And then when you were full, if your parents didn't interfere with your eating habits, right? Not telling you to clean your plate, or not telling you that you had to finish your plate before having dessert, if they didn't interfere with that ability, then you maintain that ability to know, okay, my body has had enough. I feel satisfied. I'm good. And if you don't interfere with a toddler's eating, they will naturally pick a wide variety of food. And I always compare it to my nieces and nephews who will one day ask for blueberries as a snack. Another day might ask for crackers or cheese or an avocado. My niece likes to eat just like a plain half avocado with a spoon and no salt. And it's so weird, but she loves it. And when you give a human being their power, their autonomy, their independence back to make choices for themselves, you take away that need, that anxiety to eat a certain food, for example, a quote unquote bad food. Let's take, for example, you go to a birthday party and there's cake and you've told yourself you can't have cake. What you've done is you've taken your independence and your autonomy away from yourself, given it to someone else. And so that's when it triggers that resistance and that rebellion. I'm at this birthday party. I know that I shouldn't, I can't eat this cake. And then eventually your brain is going to say, well, screw it. This is a special occasion. Let me have this food. You start eating it. That rebellion, that resistance come in. You end up overeating it because you, in your head, you've broken a rule. You want to get rid of it, eat as much as you can now and start again tomorrow. When you have your power back, then you get to decide what foods, what decisions feel good for you or not. And I know that there's this big fear of, well, what if I just crave unhealthy foods all the time? If I just eat unhealthy foods all the time, that's not good for my health. And of course, if you were to eat burgers and fries and ice cream and chocolate, you wouldn't feel good, right? And that probably would not be the best thing for your health. But if you have not done that initial process of reconnecting to that mind, body, and food connection, then yeah, you might not be able to register how certain foods make you feel. And that's why it's important. Like one of the first things I do with my client is helping them reconnect to how certain foods make you feel. Because if you were to eat chocolate and pizza and cake all day long, every single day, how do you think you would feel after a couple of days? Probably not great. Feel sluggish, feel bloated, feel lethargic, having a hard time having the energy to get through the day. And eventually, if I were to force you to eat like that every single day, eventually, I think that your body would start craving something fresh. Fruits, vegetables, nutrients. And the important piece of this here is that you would want to do that because you would want to feel better. And that's what the program is all about. It's about making choices that make you feel your best. And when we look at our society that demonizes sugar and treats and snacks, the problem is not the sugar. It's not the cookie. It's not the chocolate, the ice cream. The problem is the chronic overconsumption of those foods that make us feel bloated and lethargic and uncomfortably stuffed. It's the overconsumption of those foods. And the reason why people start being afraid of those foods is because they think when I start eating, I can't stop. And what we know by now, if you've been listening to me for long enough, you know now that the reason why you can't stop eating is not because of the food itself. It has nothing to do with the food itself, and it has everything to do with the thoughts and the mindsets that you have around that food. Telling yourself you've done something wrong, telling yourself you shouldn't eat it, telling yourself you're going to restrict again tomorrow. And that's what the Academy is all about. It's about reprogramming those chronic patterns of thoughts that trigger you to have unhealthy patterns with eating. So that the all or nothing mentality, the thought that you've broken a rule, the thought that you have to start again tomorrow, the guilt, the obsession, all of those thoughts that are the reason why you can't trust yourself around food, that's what we work on. It's a brain approach Because without approaching your thoughts, and intuitive eating is really like 80% mindset and 20% food, without addressing your thoughts and learning how to rewire your pathways, because your brain is plastic. Your brain is capable of learning something, unlearning something, and learning something new. Because the way that you now behave around food, the way that you now view food, the obsession, the all or nothing mentality, you weren't born that way, which means that you learned it at a certain point in your life. Whether you learned it when you were in high school and you were being bullied by the way that your body looked and you decided, I need to lose weight, or in college, or when you had kids and you wanting to lose your baby weight, you started developing thoughts and distrust around food and around what your body should need, should have, should eat, even though perhaps the weight gain was just a natural process of life. I know for me, when I started gaining weight when I was 16, when I stopped training, that was a natural process of my life. My body needed to grow into my adult body, and my adult body had hips and had curves and had a butt and had thighs. No thigh gap in my adult body, but I just couldn't accept it at the time. So what I did is I started dieting. I started fighting against my natural set point weight. And this is another thing that we talk about in the program is your set point weight, right? Your weight that feels natural, that is natural for you to settle and maintain. And that set point weight might not be what your current target goal weight is. And what we know about this, though, is that the more you resist against your set point weight, so for example, your set point weight is supposed to be 160, but your goal weight is 120, you might be able to restrict and starve and overexercise yourself into a 120 body, but your body is going to fight like hell. It will fight back to get you back to your natural set point weight, which is 160, by increasing your cravings, increasing your thoughts about food, making it harder and harder to lose weight. It's going to hold on to more of your fat because it feels like I'm in starvation mode. I don't know when the next consistent access to food is going to be available. So it's going to start fighting back. And the more you fight against your body in repeated attempts at dieting, the more your set point weight is going to increase as a result of a survival mechanism. And so what I do with my clients, and we work on body image, like we work a lot on thought processes around your body, but it's not about asking you to lose the desire to lose weight, because we live in a weight stigmatized, fat phobic society. And so I completely understand that there is that desire to conform. There is that desire to not be treated differently, but it's about, number one, body acceptance, but also number two, it's about accepting our genetic blueprint and working towards creating a healthy, sustainable, balanced, compassionate, kind lifestyle that is built on healthy habits that nourish your body through joyful movement, through including a wide variety of foods in your diet. And when I say diet, I just mean your food intake, and healthy for your mind, emotional regulation. Right? A big problem that I see, I don't want to call it a problem, a big challenge that a lot of my clients have is emotional eating. And it's because there is a lack of skills when it comes to self-regulating, to emotional regulating. They've never been taught how to handle difficult, uncomfortable emotions. And so what they do is they buffer through food. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel overwhelmed. Therefore, I will numb myself, or I will distract myself from feeling these things that I need to feel by overeating. And then the emotions come back and they come back worse because then there's the guilt and the shame. And so we talk about emotional eating because that's a big cause of overeating and that discomfort that creates more shame. So that is obviously there's a lot of pieces to what we do in the academy, and I want to talk about what's included. And so there is a lot of different levels of support that we include. So number one is you have lifetime access to all of the online materials. So that includes trainings, worksheets, PDFs, checklist, all of the things that you need to take everything that you're learning in the trainings, in the coaching, and then learn how to implement it and apply it to your own life. Because you could listen to podcasts, you could listen to audiobooks, you can watch YouTube videos, TED Talks, follow people on Instagram, and have all of this really great knowledge. But then there's that moment of like, okay, now what? How do I apply it to my own life? How do I make this impactful, and how do I make this helpful for myself? And so with every trainings, you have worksheets, you have ways to implement this into your own life so that there's no more of that confusion, that overwhelm, or trying to figure it out on your own. Because, oh my goodness, I have both healed my relationship with food and started a business. And I could say that at first with both, before I started getting help, there was a whole lot of doing my own research and looking at different podcasts and books and Instagrams. And then you try to gather all of these different puzzle pieces, but you don't know how they fit. And you don't know what order to apply each thing. And also, you don't always know what applies to you. And so this program is about putting all of those pieces in order, taking what is relevant and discarding all of those things that are not going to be relevant to you. And then having that clarity of like, step one, this is what you do. Step two, this is what you do. And then moving on from there. And sometimes when you come on these coaching calls and you're telling me about all of your wins and all of your challenges, I'm going to look at, okay, perhaps this week, we're going to focus on maintaining this habit, maintaining this habit, or working on just staying where you're at because we want to solidify everything. We want to make sure that this is really solid. The structure and the foundation is good before we can move on to the next step. Because this isn't about a 12-week sprint where after 12 weeks you fall right back into where you were before. Heck no. This is about giving you the tools, the mindsets, the capabilities that you need to be super freaking solid, super confident in every step that you're doing, and not just like doing it, but not understanding why you're doing it and knowing on a deep level, I understand the psychology of why I'm making this change or how I got myself to where I am today or why I keep binging. You're learning how to know yourself. And that's so important. When you understand the way that your brain works, your specific brain, how your thoughts affect your emotions and how your emotions affect each action you take, because each of the actions that you take, whether you binge or you emotionally eat or you start a workout routine and stop after a week, it all comes down to two things: your emotions behind it. And what's behind your emotions? The thoughts that you're having on a daily basis. And you have approximately 60,000 thoughts a day. And when 59,000 of those thoughts are negative, they're self-blaming, they're putting yourself down, it is very difficult to move forward, to achieve your goals, to not give up on yourself. Because you have your worst enemy by your side every step of the way telling you you can't do this. And so it doesn't just apply to your food habits or your exercise habits. It applies to how you feel on a daily basis, how you interact with people in relationships, or how much you go after certain dreams or not go after certain dreams, or after certain projects or hobbies. I've had so many clients after doing this work go after things that had been on their bucket list, on their to-do list for 10, 20 years, because it's like you unlock this piece of you that starts believing in what you're capable of. And that's what it's really about. I had a client in my past program, in my past cohort in January, and one of the things she said is one of the biggest takeaways from working in this program and working with you is that I now believe that I'm capable of change. And when you believe that you're capable of change, then every time you go after something new, you no longer have that voice that says, no, don't do it because you're going to fail. And if you're listening to this right now, then I bet you're all too familiar with that voice that says, don't do it, you're going to fail. And so one thing I talked about in the intuitive eating challenge is to start employing the power of yet. So if you're considering either joining the academy, applying for the academy, or doing anything that makes you step out of your comfort zone, you might not know how to do it, how to heal your relationship with food, how to stop binge eating, how to stop emotional eating, how to rewire your mindset around food yet. And you don't need to know yet, because that's what I'm here for. And so who is this program for? This is for that person who wants structure, who wants accountability, who wants a coach, who wants to be supported, who wants a community, who doesn't want to do this alone, who doesn't want to spend months or years trying to research different pieces and feel frustrated. And then most importantly, who really does not want to fall back into the diet and restrictive mindset. And this, I really encourage you to come back to, if you've done this exercise before, or if you haven't, you can do it now, is to write down, why is it so important for me to heal my relationship with food and my body? And when we have a why that is strong enough, for me, when I was starting my business, it was not all rainbows and butterflies. There was a lot of discomfort. There was a lot of ups, a lot of downs, and I had to invest in a lot of different coaches and programs because I did not know how to do it for myself. And there were many times where I could have given up and I could have said, this isn't working, but I had such a strong why. I had such a long-term vision of how much I wanted to help people and the impact I wanted to have on people's lives and the struggles and the challenges I had to go through myself, and why it was so important for me to help other people so that they don't have to live through that any longer. And so all those moments where I wanted to fall back into what was easy, maybe going back to a job that someone else was my boss instead of me being my own boss, or going back to a corporate job that was safe and stable. Every time I wanted to go back to what was quote unquote easy and safe, I remembered, why am I doing this in the first place? And anything that is easy is not worthwhile. And learning how to step out of your comfort zone and heal your relationship with food, it might feel uncomfortable. Absolutely. It might feel difficult at first. It's going to ask something from you that dieting doesn't, because dieting is a distraction. It keeps you busy, but it doesn't get to the root cause of things, of why am I here in the first place? Why am I struggling in the first place? And so anything that requires that extra work is going to be worth it. And reminding yourself that by coming back to your why. Maybe it's your kids. You want to be a good role model for your kids, your relationships. You want to be a better wife, a better girlfriend, a better sister, or most importantly for yourself. What is this costing you to constantly be at war with food and your body? How many things have you been missing out on? And there was something that I talked about in the last training of my intuitive eating challenge, which was, you only have 2 people in the world that you need to impress, that you need to live for. It's not your mom, it's not your sister, it's not your husband, it's not other people. It's the 8-year-old version of you and the 80-year-old version of you. With the 8-year-old version of you, like, I want you to imagine your bedroom, your childhood bedroom. I want you to imagine your door. And then I want you to open that door, visually open that door, and see that 8-year-old version of you sitting on your childhood bed and going to sit next to her, putting your arm around her and just telling her, this is the life that I've chosen for you. And it could be the current life that you're living, right? I want you to constantly be chasing weight loss. I want you to, no matter what body you're in, always be seeking approval from other people. I want you to, no matter what body you're in, feel like you're not good enough, like you're not worthy, and spend your entire life not being present, but living in your head out of constant thoughts about food in your body. Imagine telling that to your 8-year-old version of yourself. Start living life for that 8-year-old version of yourself, and then that 80-year-old version of yourself, the one who now has had a whole life go by, and she's on her deathbed. Hopefully you'll be older than 80 when you're on your deathbed, but she's had her whole life pass by. There's no do-over. There's no starting again. And you look at the life that you lived, and you look at this moment here in time where you had the opportunity to do something different, to change the trajectory of your path, of what your life will look like for the next 30, 40, 50 years. What would the 80-year-old version of yourself say to you today about the decisions that you should be making, the things that you should be investing in, the time, the energy that you should be dedicating towards which projects in your life, what's important and what's not? And so one big thing that I do with my clients is, yes, of course, I teach you all about intuitive eating and behavior change and habits, but there's so much more to that. It's about living an intentional life that you're proud of. I enrolled a new client in the academy this morning. And one of the things she said is, throughout just the 7 days together this week, one thing I realized is that I am so not present in my life. For the past 40 years of my life, I've just been spending my life on autopilot, right? I'm either in the past about all the mistakes and the failures I've had in the past, or in the future about all the anxieties about how my current choices are going to affect my future. I'm never in the present. When I'm with the people I love, I'm not with them mentally. I'm not enjoying myself. And that is one thing I am always intentional about in my own life, and helping my clients be intentional with too, is creating a life that you're the architect of, that you're not just the bystander, that you're not just in the sidelines and letting life happen to you. No, it's about making a life, creating a life that serves you, that you're going to be proud of. So I went on a few different tangents. So what I've included a lot of things that I've talked about, a lot of things that are included. So the lifetime access to the material, you'll also get twice weekly coaching with me. So that is where you get an hour that I come in, I do hot seats. So I talk to real people in the group, in the community, who are having challenges, and we talk through them, how to handle them, what to learn from them, what to focus on moving forward. We talk about each week, like, what are going to be your focuses, one thing that you're going to focus on so that you're not overwhelmed. So again, that's step-by-step instruction here. You also have lifetime access to the community, so the private Food Freedom Academy community, so that you have a support system even when we're done the life coaching, so that you never fall back into your old mindsets and habits. You have regular weekly check-ins with me, and you have a coach in your corner. You have a coach who's going to hold your hand, who's going to care about you, maybe a little bit too much. And I'm going to be there to lend you my belief until you have your own. So if right now you have a lot of self-doubt, you don't believe in yourself, you don't know which path to take, you don't know which steps to take, and you don't believe that you're capable of doing this, well, as a coach who has worked with hundreds of women, all of them in the exact same boat as you, I know what works, and I've seen what is possible. And I've seen that this process is repeatable and it's proven. And if you show up and do the work, that's why I'm so passionate when I talk to people. It's like, if I could show you what your life could look like 3 months from now, if I could take out a TV and film you 3 months from now and then put that on a projector and show you how different your life could be, you would not hesitate to move forward with this. And the only thing that is getting in your way is your own self, your own self-doubt. And one thing that is for sure, without a doubt, is that if you were to decide not to do anything different or to just keep doing what you're doing, one thing we know for sure is that things don't change. And so at least when you take that step and you decide to do something different and to get the help the support you need, you give yourself the chance, the possibility of change, the possibility of what I call creating chapter 2 of your story, which is leaving your past identity of chronic dieter behind and stepping into a whole new one. So, lastly, who is this not a right fit for? So the Food Freedom Academy is not a right fit for you if you are looking for a quick fix, another fad diet, a quick weight loss scheme for the summer to fit into a specific bikini. No, this is about changing and rewiring your whole mindset around food and your body. This is not for you if you're not coachable. If you think that you know everything about everything and you are going to come in and be resistant to the methods and the framework that I have, because there's a reason why it's so successful. And if you don't want to take in all the tools and the support that I'm going to give you, then this is definitely not going to be a right fit for you. And that's why I have my enrollment calls, my discovery calls beforehand, because I can give you all of the support and all the tools that you need on a silver platter. But if you're not going to take it and apply it to your own life, then it's kind of a waste of time for both of us. And I want to make sure, because we have so many applications and we have so many women who want to join this program, I want to make sure that the people who are being let in are the people who are going to do the work and support other people and be encouraging, because the community is really just everything. It's really important to me. And I'm really close with my clients and I really care, and I want to make sure that it's going to be a right fit for you. So that is my little rant on who would be a right fit or not. And so if you have any more questions about the Academy, then feel free to send me a message on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health, or an email. But I do recommend, if you are even a little bit curious about the program, if you want to learn if this would be a right fit for you, again, like when you apply, there's no obligation to commit, because I want to make sure that this is going to be a right fit for you. So it's invite only. And if it's not a right fit for some reason, then I will give you the best resources that are going to be better for you in your current stage of your journey. But if you are even a little bit curious, you want to know more, you want to apply, spots are filling up really quickly. They're probably going to be filled up either by this week or beginning of next week. But I recommend send in your application, book a call with me, sabrinamagnan.com/academy. Or if you want to go straight to the application, you go sabrinamagnan.com/application, send in your application, book a call with me. I will be more than happy to talk to you, to give you that space to talk through your challenges and to give you some clarity on where you're getting stuck, why you're getting stuck, and what actions to take moving forward. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope that I get to connect with you soon, and have an amazing rest of your day. And I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magnan Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.